Hello everyone and welcome to another round of Tuesday Night Legacy where we showcase Magic's most powerful formats. My name is Eugene and I'll be your commentator for this round 2 from April 26th. On the left we have Pedro piloting the Ad Nauseam Tendrils Storm combo list. Using things like, well, can start with Duress, but it usually goes into things like Dark Ritual and Cabal Ritual, trying to cast Ad Nauseam to completely reload the hand, getting a storm count super high by playing 0 mana cost spells, finally finishing with either a Burning Wish, Infernal Tutor into the Tendrils of Agony. On the right, we have Jamie piloting the Bant Stoneblade list. This is basically centered around Stoneforge Mystic, going and grabbing the Cauldron Complete and attacking for beats, but it also has green and blue. So of course we have Uro. This has a spicy tech of adding Teferi, which is very good against counter spells. And of course you have your own set of Force of Wills and maybe a Force of Negation. And just, you know, Swords to Plowshares to get rid of any problematic permanents. Let's go ahead and get into the game. We have Pedro starting off here with a fetch land into probably some kind of cantrip, I would guess. More than likely a Ponder or a Preordain. Already casting, there it is. So we're going to see the Ponder. The first few turns of Ad Nauseam are usually cantrips. The deck wants to play all of their spells all in one go to keep that storm count super high. Unless it's a perfect 7 opener, we usually don't see anything from the first turn or maybe even 2 turns from the Tendrils Storm list. Looks like Pedro might be missing a land drop here. Fires off the Brainstorm. Do see that he drew that Volcanic Island, so that's probably coming down. Followed by that Ponder, I would guess. Yep. There we go, setting it up. So we can see that Pedro has in his hand an Empty the Warrens, which is probably going to be his win condition for this game. Casting as many spells as possible, getting as many goblins as possible. Pretty hard for an opponent to even deal with 12 goblins, so being able to resolve 5 spells plus your Empty the Warrens is pretty close to a surefire way to win the game. Unless they have something crazy like a explosive engineered explosives or anything else that can just straight up deal with a bunch of 1/1s. Alright, so we see Jamie firing off the Stoneforge Mystic on turn 2. Gonna go and get that Cauldron Complete. I don't think he knows what he's playing against, so, you know, even though he sees the blue counterspell, he figured that getting Cauldron into play earlier than later is a good thing. This permanent being extremely difficult to answer. Pretty much the only course of action is either an exile spell or a bounce effect. Pedro deciding that he needs to deal with it now, or go off now, is starting to fire off all these Lotus Petals and a Lion's Eye Diamond, so he has access to quite a bit of mana. Pays the 2 mana he has for the Cabal Ritual, getting him a little bit of extra mana. Already up to 6 Storms, so he fires off his whole hand, and so he is going to get those 12 Goblins. Going to be represented, kind of trying to decide on the playmat how to represent these. Decide to go with 2 6 dice. 6-sided dice with the 6s on top. We see the Cauldron deployed, but I think he holds it back here. Attacking with these goblins, of course. There's a block with the Cauldron. Cauldron exiling it, no matter what it was, with that first strike and triggered ability. But taking 11 is pretty tough. Jamie did have that second Stoneforge Mystic, and with a Stoneforge Mystic already in play, having the Batter Skull is pretty much one of the best answers to a slew of goblins. So with that 4/4 life linker coming down with attacks next turn, ooh, we see an Adnaz. Oh, but it's going to catch that Force of Negation being exiled. So this would have reloaded Pedro's hand by paying life to get, where is it? There it is. Paying life to draw cards or put cards into hand. Unfortunately, Force of Negation is going to say no to that, so Pedro has to think here, am I attacking in for 11, but then having him gain 4? decides that the swing is just too much and goes to game 2 instead. Couple of fetch lands. First couple turns of the game here. Jamie getting a tropical island and passing. Let's see an underground sea on Pedro's side. The storm list, I think, is Grixis. Yeah, red, black, blue. This particular list that he's running, though, is actually 4-color because it has the added tech of the Veil of Summer. I don't have that in the list that I pulled up here. I'm going to have to update the list when I can. Veil of Summer, very good for the storm list. Basically stopping your opponent from interacting with your spells since they can't be countered for the turn, and giving you a surefire way to make sure that whatever you're doing is going to resolve. We see from Jamie the Stoneforge Mystic, probably going and getting the Cauldron again. The more Cauldron swings in, the less Ad Nauseam is effective, as you can have some pretty hard hits off of Ad Nauseam if you draw your Paston Flames or if you draw the Tendrils in the deck. Dealing 4 to 5 damage to yourself is no good, especially when you want to be drawing a lot more cards, taking 1 damage for cantrips or 0 damage for one of your mana rocks. Pedro really in the tank on this one. He must think that he might be able to go off this turn, but thinks differently about it and decides to ponder instead. We can see an Infernal Tutor there. Decided whatever the other two were was good enough and passes it back. Ooh, a Wasteland from Jamie is going to get that Underground Sea, and we're going to see the Cauldron deployed and attacking for 5. Pedro basically has 3 more turns to wrap this up, or he is toast from that Cauldron complete. I don't believe Ad Nauseam runs anything that can deal with a Cauldron. This particular list does have a Hercule's Recall in the sideboard, and a Chain of Vapor. I'm not 100% certain if this is the same list, though. And a lot of these are actually Wishboard cards. So casting Burning Wish to go and get those cards, you don't really want to bring them in from your sideboard, even if it is good for the match, because you have more copies of Burning Wish than you do the single card. So it is more likely that you will draw the Burning Wish, which will allow you to go and get your answer. Pedro deciding he's going off this turn, off of that Preordain. See a Lotus Petal. Looks like he's got the Infernal Tutor, maybe a Dark Ritual, a Burning Wish, and a Cabal Ritual. Although Jamie does have at least 1 Force of Will, so we'll see what he decides to force here. Getting the Badlands. Got to have that red mana. Oh, okay. Decides to fire off the Dark Ritual into the Cabal Ritual. Cabal Ritual, of course, saying Threshold, gain 5 mana. So, bad Dark Ritual until it's not. See the Burning Wish get fired off here. That's going to catch the Force of Will. Does have that Infernal Tutor. So going to go for that. Has 3 mana. What can we do for 3 mana? 3 black mana. That's a tough spot. Although you can get anything from the deck, most of the spells that you need to go off, either the Ad Nauseam cost 5, so he was too short there, or Galvanic Relay would have been for red. So after seeing the hand that Jamie had with that Thoughtseize, he decided to just scoop it up and consider that the game. Thanks for tuning in to this round 2. I hope you enjoyed the match. If you have enjoyed the content on this channel, please consider subscribing and liking the video. And a big thank you to Spellhold Games for allowing us to continue to record our content for the channel. The round 3 is going to be Ruby Storm versus Doomsday. We'll see you then.